Lorna Simpson's 2003 short film Corridor is a 13-minute, 15-second abstract visual installation. The two-channel piece juxtaposes the narratives of two women placed a century apart as they progress throughout their daily activities within the separate houses. The film interrogates the binary of labor and leisure set within the domestic sphere. Through the simultaneous display of two visuals, Simpson distinctly places the women's lives as distinct and connected. Props, costuming, plot, and actor placement all distinguish the differences between one woman's labor and another woman's leisure. The invocation of a changing soundscape and weather serve to then interrogate notions of comfort associated within the binary of labor and leisure, and the critiques of the role of a housewife determined by white supremacist fantasy of a nuclear family and the legal and religious institution of marriage. The simultaneous display of two visuals highlighting the differences between the two narratives, but also highlights the connection and how the past informs the present. The distinction between the visuals serve as linkages to each other. When one woman leaves, the other enters. When one is working, the other is at rest. Thus, a conversation is established on a dependence of the actions on the right contributing to the lifestyle on the left. Corridor breaks apart progression in modernity from its association with liberty.
The props used in Corridor separate each channel by a century. The right-hand visual shows the actor using a basin to wash herself and a candle as a source of light, suggesting a lack of running water and electricity in the house, dating the house as pre-industrial revolution. The dial phone used in the left-hand visual, as well as the mid-century modern architecture, indicate the character on the left is within the 1950s or 1960s. By juxtaposing two period pieces, as the installation was made in 2003, Corridor places the two moments in time to be directly linked to one another. The two time periods serve to juxtapose how technological advances change everyday behaviors and ways of living.
Not only is there contrast in the setting of the pieces, but also in the characterization of the actors. The character on the left represents luxury, while the character on the right represents functionality. She begins her day by putting an apron over a colonial-era dress, while the character on the left begins the day in the bathroom, looking at her appearance in a mirror, a symbol of vanity, in a ruffled pink robe. The costume on the right symbolizes work and servitude, and the decorative garment on the left symbolizes luxury. The cosmetics on the left, as well as the character's fur coat, further characterize her to be of status.
The character on the left spends her day focusing on her appearance, applying cosmetics and changing outfits, all in preparation to go out. She then spends some time reading a magazine and talking on the phone, a representation of leisure. The actor then enters the dining room in a fur coat and an evening dress, and sits at a table set for two. These scenes indicate that the character on the left is a housewife, planning to go out in the evening but is unable to as her husband cannot come home. Juxtaposed to this visual, the character on the right is depicted to be a servant, as indicated by her costume.
In this scene, by simultaneously displaying both characters on the stairs after getting ready, Corridor takes the structure of the house to display power relations. The character on the right walks up, indicating she lives downstairs, while the character on the left walks down, indicating she lives upstairs. A dialogue is then formed between these two characters, where the servitude of the one on the right from a century past directly links to the wealth, leisure, and status of the character on the left in the mid-20th century.
Juxtaposed to Simpson's Corridor, At Home by MD is a tribute film made recently in 2020 that serves as an explicit commentary on how systems of domination work within and invade the domestic sphere, using a montage of techniques from black and white short film, audio recordings of police calls, and news clips. This film contrasts the unsettling nature of Corridor and shapes the domestic sphere to be a joyful space in need of protection from the state.
The tribute video starts with a short film by the artist. As she travels through a house, the cuts synchronize to the beat of Michael Bublé's cover of Feeling Good by Nina Simone. Bublé's track in harmony with the clips creates a tone that is upbeat and synchronous, and the mood evoked from the domestic living is thus inviting and joyful. The music of Corridor, however, a clash of classic pipe and fiddler music reminiscent of the colonial era with jazz music of the 60s creates a sense of discordance that complements the frigidity displayed of the modern lifestyle. This frigidity is again symbolized through the winter weather contrasted with red tones of the colonial house.
Simpson's visual techniques portray the domestic sphere, a representation of the heteronormative, patriarchal state, as frigid, self-interested, and empty, directly attacking the legal and religious structure of marriage as a symbol of love and connection. Juxtaposed with 18th-19th century servitude, Simpson portrays the constructed domestic sphere's modern leisure to be built upon the servitude of generations past, and that liberty is constructed outside of the labor-leisure binary, and outside of attaining wealth and status within capitalism.
Corridor's use of mise-en-scène that establish its commentary on modernity are contrasted by At Home's usage of contemporary material that serve to comment on policing in the white nationalist state. In a matter of seconds, short film switches from displaying the movement of a woman in the home to the sounds of gunshots, and a police call is played.
Following the call, At Home uses newsreels and interviews as a direct call to action to the audience to take certain steps to lessen the power of the police state. At Home specifically condemns the policy of no-knock warrants.
You're asleep in your bed, and you're home, and all of a sudden, you're asleep in that bed, your girlfriend's next to you, boom, door gets kicked in.
In 1986, Congress passed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, which established mandatory minimum prison sentences for certain drug offenses. Federal and local law enforcement implemented militarized strategies, including no-knock raids, in which police would enter a premises without first identifying their authority and purpose. These raids were widespread in the 1980s in police departments across the country in the war on drugs. The 1963 Supreme Court ruling Kerr v. California set a precedent in favor of forcible police entries involving narcotics, but no-knock warrants can be traced back further to the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution.
In April 2021, the governor of Kentucky signed into law a bill that limits no-knock warrants after the city of Louisville banned them in June of 2020. A bill was introduced on the federal level to ban no-knock warrants nationwide, and yet what still remains is the protection of the white national state above the protection of people as evidenced by the Bill of Rights this nation is built upon.
At Home places the domestic sphere, a site associated with comfort and safety, to be violated by the white nationalist state. Ultimately, MD's work contrasts with the abstract work of Lorna Simpson's Corridor as a call to action against the invasion of the white nationalist state, while Corridor evokes the ever-presence of the heteronormative patriarchy within the most intimate spaces, in tandem disrupting the separation between the domestic sphere and systems of domination.